Subscribing to The Observer on YouTube couldn't be easier, and we're going to show you exactly how to do that. First, navigate to www.youtube.com/TheObserverNJ. Once you get there, all you need to do is hit the subscribe button. Next to the subscribe button, click the down arrow and then all. And that's it. You're subscribed, and now anytime The Observer is live, you will be notified. Hi again, everybody. It's Kevin Canessa coming to you live from the newsroom of The Observer and TheObserver.com on this, the 10th day of February in the year 2026. Sure hope you're enjoying your Tuesdays, no matter where it is you are in the country. Northeast, it is 33 degrees. At least some of the snow can go away, but man, it just seems like this is going to be here forever. But at any rate, as you do each and every Tuesday, welcome you into your home so that I can bring you this week's news. And before I get into what was in the newspaper this week and something big that's coming up in the Kearney Town Council meeting tonight, I have to talk to you about this tragic story that I just heard about an hour ago from the Essex County Prosecutor's Office. But you may already know about this poor young woman from Kearney. This is Estefania Delone. She's 25 years old, and she was killed in a car crash on Route 21 over the weekend. And I wasn't sure if this was, you never know until you get all the details, whether the person that you're reading about is the same person. So I went through and looked back at old stories that we had, and then it matched up with the obituary, which appears on Mark Wiggins' website. And this was her in 2018. In 2018, she was a tremendous athlete in Kearney High School, and she wound up going to Bloomfield College, played for 4 years in Bloomfield College, and she wound up getting her college degree while she was a student there. But from what we've been told from the Essex County Prosecutor's Office is that the woman was driving on Route 21 on Saturday. And if you've ever been on Route 21, you know how that elevated portion of the highway in Newark is just, it's awful. It really is. And apparently as she was driving northbound on Route 21, she hit the guardrail. God knows how. You know, there could have been ice on there. There's so many different reasons why. And the car went airborne, and she wound up flipping over and being pinned in her vehicle. And she, at the time, was alive. And unfortunately, she was sent over to University Hospital in Newark. And when she got to University Hospital in Newark, she was pronounced dead. And all I can tell you is that when she was in Kearney High School, she was seen as an incredible athlete, a wonderful basketball player. And I know she continued along playing basketball when she got to Bloomfield College after that. And so just a tragic event taking place in Newark on Saturday night. I think it was Saturday going into Sunday. And I can't even imagine what her family's going through right now. She will be laid out and laid to rest at the Armitage and Wiggins Funeral Home. I'm not sure of the details. I just read it briefly and kind of shook up by this. You know, whenever you hear about somebody of that age dying so tragically, it is such a horrible, horrible thing for anybody to have to go through. And the family, it's just got to be devastating for the family. But at any event, this was her picture from 2018 when she signed her letter of intent to play basketball. And our dear friend, the late Jim Haig, wrote an incredible story about her back then. And it looks like she had so many incredible things to do in her life, and she'll never get that chance. Gone at the age of 25. So I hate that I had to start off this broadcast today with such a devastating news story, but just know that. Yes, what Mary Brady in the chat room says, it was a one car accident. There was no other cars involved, so it was not that somebody else hit her or she hit somebody. Maybe she just lost control of the car. We don't know. They're still investigating it. Is the Essex County Prosecutor's Office, and when we get any information about it, we'll let you know about it. But God rest her. God rest her soul. For Estefania Delone, who you see right here on the screen. I want to welcome in a whole bunch of people who are here watching us today. First, it is Larry Hanlon. Larry, good afternoon. Chris Brown is also here with us today. Carol Manley is probably down the shore where it's just as cold as it is right here. Good to see you, Carol. Sharon McCune is here with us. Sharon, good to see you. Lori Brado is also here with us, and Mary Brady, who was in the chat room a few seconds ago. Here's what her comment was. Of course, it was about the accident on Route 21, and is she ever right? It happens way too often on Route 21. Anybody who may be in the background and watching us as well, we welcome you to the program also. Now, this is something that may cause... Okay, I'm going to give this a few minutes. I don't know if we're back on the air or not. And if anybody watching can just kind of drop me a note in the chat room. We had an outage just briefly, so let me just take a look and see. Or if anybody's in the chat room, just say something if you don't mind. But bear with me for a second. I want to see if this is... Yeah, it is. Okay. All right, anyway. We got cut off. The internet dropped out for a couple of seconds, and now we are back. And what you see here on the screen is the resolution that the town of Kearney is proposing when it comes to ICE. It is not in any way saying that ICE may not operate in Kearney. I think that needs to be perfectly clear, because there's going to be a divided sector of people who are just watching this broadcast right this very moment, who are going to instantly think that the town of Kearney is telling ICE they can't be here. That is just the furthest from the truth. What it will do, if it passes at the meeting tonight, is dictate how things will go in the town of Kearney if there are police officers in the area or anything of that nature. So that's why we're going to go through this one piece at a time. And this resolution has to be voted upon. So I want it to be perfectly clear that it is not the law of the land just yet. They're going to vote on this tonight at 7 o'clock, somewhere in that area. And you see what the beginning of it says about the the enforcement and all this other stuff that is on here. So now I'm trying to move this, and of course it seems like it's locked, so just bear with me for a second. So I'm going to slide this up a little bit and look at some of the limitations and things that are going to be put on police officers and other town employees. A limitation on assistance. Number one, the police department will not initiate contact, stop, detain, or investigate individuals solely for the purpose of determining immigration status. That is the job of ICE. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement does that job. It is not the role of the municipal police department, not just here in Kearney, but everywhere, to perform those type of operations. So all this is doing is clarifying that if there is an immigration operation in the town of Kearney, it will not be at the hands of the Kearney Police Department. And you could probably apply this to just about any other municipality's police department. No voluntary detainer compliance. The police department will not honor or comply with ICE immigration detainer requests unless accompanied by a judicial warrant signed by a federal judge or magistrate. One of the reasons that this had to be put in Kearney to be clarified is that there have been numerous occasions where judicial warrants were not present. And when they're not present, they're not supposed to be honored. It is that simple. If there is a judicial warrant signed, however, the department will comply with the warrant. Non-participation in operations. The Kearney Police Department will not participate in, assist with, or provide resources, personnel, vehicle, office space for ICE-led operations, including raids, arrests, sweeps, unless required by a crime to address an immediate and serious criminal threat. So, in this case, when you see an operation, if you happen to witness one when it happens, and it has happened in Kearney, if you happen to see this, you will not see any Kearney police officers involved in the operation unless the warrant directs them to participate. And again, it seems like we are having trouble with this broadcast, and I apologize for that. I have no idea what's going on. I hope you're still here with us. Confidentiality of information. The police department will not share non-public information regarding the release date or home address of inmates with ICE. In other words, if a person is behind bars in Kearney, they will not inform ICE if they are being released. And that is very common, very common. There is no obligation for a municipal police department, not just in New Jersey, to inform ICE if somebody is being released who may be wanted by that agency. Number 5, courthouse protection. ICE agents are not permitted to make arrests inside municipal courtrooms or within the secure private areas of the court. That is pretty self-explanatory. If you go to court in the town of Kearney for municipal court, they will not permit ICE agents to enter the courtroom at any point in time. Rejecting detainer requests. Number 6. Policies should be considered that refuse to hold individuals beyond their release date solely on an ICE detainer to the extent that ICE detainers are voluntary requests. Number 7, limiting 287 bracket G participation. They will refuse to enter those agreements which deputize local police officers to act as federal immigration agents. Very simple, very self-explanatory. Limiting information sharing, which will restrict the proactive sharing of inmate information, etc., with ICE agents. That's been sort of repeated a couple of times with some of the other bullet points in the resolution. Number 9, restricting access. The town of Kearney will deny ICE agents access to jail facilities without a judicial warrant or preventing interviews without legal counsel present. Again, this is not saying that they are rejecting anything of the work that ICE has to perform. They are just simply saying if there is not a judicial warrant, they will not be allowed to use jail facilities to do so. And finally, number 10, prioritizing local resources. And this is something that has been debated and talked about a lot on television over the last couple of weeks. The local law enforcement agencies are supposed to be doing nothing but protecting the people of a given municipality, town, city, whatever. At no point should a local police officer be required to enforce federal civil immigration law. It is not their responsibility before 2024. It has not been the responsibility after or at any point in time. And that is what the town of Kearney is doing right now. They are basically expressing all of the different possible scenarios that may be faced by somebody or a police officer in the town of Kearney in the coming weeks, months, years, however long this goes on for. So, the Kearney town council meets tonight at 7 o'clock. I'm sure there will be a discussion about this at the meeting, and they will then take a vote on whether to put this policy into effect. I seem to think it will pass, and I do believe it will probably be a unanimous vote, but it's also being done to protect the people of Kearney, to protect the people who work in the police department and who have to deal with these types of things on a regular basis. And this was something that you have not seen necessarily, those types of things being spelled out very, very clearly in other municipalities. And I think it's a very good move to do this and to make it very, very clear that a local police department is here to perform local police operations and that federal agencies are on their own because that's what they're charged with performing. So I hope this makes some kind of sense. We will watch and see what happens tonight at the council meeting, whether or not this is passed. And when we get word on whether or not it passes, we will certainly bring it to you at some point, whether it's tonight or tomorrow at some point. We will see. But that's coming up tonight at about 7 o'clock. And there's other things that have to go on at the meeting tonight. This is, of course, not the only agenda item, but we will bring it to your attention once we know for sure what happens and what the vote is and what they've said. In fact, we may even be able to show you some clips for it sometime tomorrow. And I just want to tell you about these two front page stories this week, because the first one is about Sheriff Jimmy Davis appointing Orlando Miranda to be one of the 3 under-sheriffs in Hudson County. Orlando is a longtime Kearney resident, and he has been involved with Latino veterans for many, many years. And the picture that you see of him from our front page this week was actually taken on Veterans Day in 2024. He had a speaking role at the event in the town of Kearney. This is a great move by the sheriff because Orlando is a career military man. He was in the United States Army, served in Iraq, and has been involved since he retired from the military in 2023 with Veterans and Military Affairs here in New Jersey, but more specifically for Latino veterans. And he will be responsible for courtroom operations in the Hudson County Sheriff's Office. He's going to do a great job. He really is, and he's a very, very nice man. I had a chance to meet him a couple of years ago and saw him at the Greeks over the weekend, and we wish him well in his new position, but I think he's going to do a fantastic job. Now, this is something on the bottom of page number 1 that we have talked about on this program probably too much, and that's the use of automated license plate readers, which are getting more and more popular by the minute. If you take a look, the North Arlington Police Department didn't have any. They now have 2. These license plate readers really are an incredible tool for law enforcement, for local law enforcement. And we've seen it here on this program where people have come into Lyndhurst and they're caught right away because their licenses are suspended or they're wanted, because there's all sorts of reasons why. If the license plate readers are working properly, you can get people off the streets, right? It's not just motor vehicle stuff anymore. It's attached to the NCIC computer now. And if somebody's wanted criminal, you come in here and their car is registered to that person, they're going to find them, they're going to make arrests. So the North Arlington Police Department is adding 2 of these to its arsenal, and it's going to simply make North Arlington an even safer place to be. It really is a good move, and I think most of our departments in the readership area have these now, and so it's good to see that the financial investment is being made, because these things are not cheap. They are not cheap, but the work that it performs in helping police officers to find the bad guys is unbeatable. It really, really is. And if you really need to see how it works really well, just look in Lyndhurst. They've got them all over the place. You can't get in or out of Lyndhurst if you're a wanted individual, so don't even bother trying. And that's why we always talk about it, because so many people do go in and try to get around it. and it doesn't ever work. And that's about it for this week's edition of The Observer that I want to talk to you about. Don't forget, there's 2 pages of classified in the back of the book, so please check that out. And Jason Bernstein has 3 sports stories this week, including co-athletes of the week. 2 players on the Nutley High School varsity hockey team scored their 200th points in the same game, only seconds apart. It is really, really remarkable what happens when something like that happens for one athlete. But for 2 of them in the same game, seconds apart, to get 200 points is a remarkable achievement. So I hope you check that out in the Athlete of the Week on the 3rd story in this week's edition of The Observer. Now, I have not had a chance to look at the chat room at all because we keep getting we were getting knocked off earlier. I see Diane Rooney is here. Carmen De Jesus is also here with us. And Barbara Condon is also here with us. I greeted everybody else earlier, and I'm sorry I didn't get to chit-chat with everybody as much today, but with all these issues, I apologize. Getting knocked off and whatever that was, I'm not quite sure what it was. But I do want to thank each and every one of you for joining me today. We'll be back a week from today, but once we get any more clarity on what's happening with that ICE resolution that the town of Kearney is proposing for tonight's council meeting, we will bring that to you as well. So, from the newsroom of The Observer and TheObserver.com, it's Kevin Canessa signing off for now. We hope to see you back here again very, very soon. Enjoy the rest of your day, and again, my apologies for the technical difficulties a little bit earlier. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.